Okay, this is an example of integration between XPlane version 10 and AGI's STK Systems Tool Kit version 10. Here you can see I've loaded up XPlane, and I can go to the settings and I can show that I'm actually outputting pitch, roll, heading, as well as latitude, longitude, and altitude. I'm broadcasting that over a UDP port, and this is the rate of broadcast, so it's I've maximized that broadcast rate, 99.9 packets of information per second. I've also gone into my net connections, and I've set up for data output to my local host, and I've selected a port number of 39,000. So this could essentially be any IP address that you want, but since I'm running these on the same machine, I'm using a localhost IP address. Okay, so I've built a small .NET application. This application allows me to enter in that port number. It's essentially listening for any type of UDP broadcast, and when I connect to it, it's going to start grabbing the latitude, longitude, altitude, heading, pitch, and roll values that I've selected as data outputs. I've added the ability to connect to STK. When I click this button, it's going to allow me to load a real-time scenario inside of STK, which is going to be set up to receive these broadcast information, packets of information to drive my aircraft inside of STK. This is going to be somewhat unique because STK allows me to do a lot of really unique and cool things with my aircraft platforms, satellites, ground vehicles, etc. Once I have their mobility or position information inside of STK. So this can be pre-recorded information that I've gone in and recreated a flight route or a route of any vehicle inside of STK, or in this case what we're going to see is actually bringing that data in a real-time sense. So let me load up this STK scenario, and I'm running two screens, so let me bring this over here. So you can see that I've brought in STK scenario. I've modeled a couple of things off the bat. This is the airport location inside of XPlane, which I'm taking off from, and I knew that ahead of time, so I'm just bringing that up for just for some situational awareness of where we are. So all I need to do now is just allow my .NET application to create an aircraft for me. So when I click that button, you'll notice that an aircraft object has already been brought into STK for me. So I can zoom to that aircraft and get an idea of where we are. So inside of STK right now, you can see that I'm sort of hovering above the runway here. I'm in the right position, but altitude makes it seem otherwise, and that's simply because I haven't turned on terrain information. So here's my flight. It's inside of STK now, and I have a lot of terrain information loaded, so you can see all of the surrounding terrain here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my aircraft take off inside of XPlane, and I'm going to be controlling that via a small joystick here on my desk. So you'll have to forgive any bad piloting mistakes that might go on. I'm in no way a pilot. So let me go ahead and have my aircraft take off.
November 01 X-ray Papa.
And I'm just going to leave my XPlane window up for just a few moments here after I've taken off.
Runway 34 right, taxi via Bravo. Hold short of 34 right, November 03 X-ray Papa.
Okay, so I'm in the air, I'm flying around now. If I go back into XPlane flight that's inside of STK, I can see this aircraft. So if I'm banking or pitching or rolling or anything that I'm asking the aircraft to do inside of XPlane, I can see that being shown here inside of my STK window. So just to give sort of a side-by-side comparison here, if I can readjust these just a little bit, you can see my aircraft pitching and rolling and banking as I give those commands from inside of XPlane. So this gives me a really unique capability that STK provides, because now I can utilize things like sensors, transmitters, receivers, and I can do a lot of my typical STK type of calculations. This is something that I can do post-mission, or in some cases I can even do this in somewhat of a real-time sense. So in this case, I've got my aircraft that's flying around. I seem to have some reasonable response from the aircraft as I'm flying, so I can see my position and orientation and things changing as I'm interfacing with the joystick here. Now, one thing that I can do really quickly is just add the idea of a sensor on board my aircraft. So let me just add a basic sensor here. This is just a simple conic sensor. This is just a 45-degree conic sensor, but already you can see as I'm moving my aircraft around, my sensor's field of view is going to be changing accordingly. So my sensor's sort of tied to the body frame of my aircraft. So as I'm moving around, I'm giving inputs for attitude adjustments, and I can see that sensor changing. So this is one aspect of flying this in real time that can be somewhat useful for more of a situational awareness type of application. So maybe I can make this a rectangular sensor, 35 by 25 maybe, and I can see that that sensor being projected here into the 3D window. So that's one kind of a cool thing that I can do inside of STK. Another one is communications. So I can go in and attach the idea of my aircraft might have some sort of transmitter object on board.
Contact tower on 119.9.
This transmitter I'm going to set up with maybe just 3.5 gigahertz. I'm going to leave everything as just sort of the nominal values there. And I have a place location that I'm going to attach a receiver to. And my receiver properties, I'm just going to set that to auto track. Okay? So now I can go into my transmitter. I can ask for some access coverages. My receiver and my transmitter. And I can look at link budget information. Now, what I really want to look at is that link budget information inside of my 3D window. So I'm going to turn that on as a heads-up display. Now, what's really cool and what's going on now is my aircraft and my ground control station back here at my Seattle airport, I've dedicated information that makes up my transmitter and my receiver, and as I'm moving my aircraft, my antenna's changing, and alternatively those communications parameters should be changing because of that. So I'm actually calculating this in real time. So STK is telling me what my current carrier to noise ratio is, or my EB over N naught, or my received isotropic power. And these are all things that I can really quickly change and get an idea of how those are changing. I can try different antennas, I can try different powers, different frequencies, and see how those properties are going to be changing. So this is really cool and somewhat of a unique capability inside of STK. And what makes this even more unique is the fact that all of my aircraft's position, orientation, everything is being driven from XPlane. So I know a lot of users rely on XPlane because of its capabilities for doing 6 degree of freedom flight prediction and aircraft airframe modeling. So you can take advantage of what XPlane does and does really well, and at the same time take advantage of what STK can do and what it does really well. So these are this is just a quick little demo showcasing some of those capabilities. and I hope you find it useful. Thanks.